Let's talk about what is happening right now, because this is a major development, and it tells you a lot about where the United States stands in the world today. Donald Trump has spent the past several days issuing warnings to Iran, setting a 10 to 15-day deadline for a nuclear deal, and deploying a massive military buildup across the Middle East. The Defense Department is sending a large array of additional weaponry to the region, including more warships, air defenses, and submarines. NBC News' 2 aircraft carrier groups are now in the area. The USS Gerald R. Ford is crossing the Atlantic to join the USS Abraham Lincoln and its accompanying strike group in the Persian Gulf. NBC News, on the surface, it looks like Trump is ready to move. But here is the problem, and it is a significant one. The United Kingdom is blocking the Trump administration from using its military air bases for a possible attack on Iran, over concerns that a strike could violate international law. Fox News, this is not a small issue. We are talking about RAF Fairford in England, which is where the United States keeps its fleet of heavy bombers in Europe, and Diego Garcia, the massive strategic base in the Indian Ocean. Diego Garcia has historically served as a launch point for major U.S. air campaigns in the region. However, it is British sovereign territory, meaning London must approve its use for offensive operations. Al Jazeera and Prime Minister Keir Starmer is saying no. Now watch how Trump responds when he doesn't get his way. Trump retaliated by withdrawing U.S. support for the UK's decision to transfer the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, saying Starmer was making a big mistake. Al Jazeera, just months ago, Secretary of State Marco Rubio put out a statement welcoming that same deal, calling it a historic agreement that secures the long-term operation of the joint military facility at Diego Garcia. Now, suddenly, Trump is calling the entire arrangement a mistake because the UK said no. That tells you everything you need to know about the consistency and credibility of this administration. But Britain is not alone here. Saudi Arabia and the UAE have said they will not allow their airspace to be used for an attack on Iran, responsible statecraft. Think about that. These are countries that were once among America's most reliable partners in the Gulf, and now they are drawing their own red lines. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman told Iran's president directly that the kingdom will not allow its airspace or land to be utilized in any potential military action. The Hill. Qatar, Turkey, and Oman have all ramped up their mediation efforts as well, with Saudi Arabia and Egypt advocating for de-escalation and diplomacy. Chatham House. And here is what is really fascinating about this. These are not countries that have historically been friendly toward Iran. They spent decades viewing Tehran as their biggest regional threat. Yet today, with a real prospect of U.S. military action, regional states are pursuing energetic diplomacy to dissuade the U.S. from attacking, because the greatest risks they now see are not from Iran, but from the chaos of a potential collapsed Iranian state and an expansionist Israel. They have done the math. A destabilized Iran does not stay destabilized within its own borders. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, and Egypt led a long, frantic, last-minute diplomatic effort to convince Trump to give Iran a chance to show good intentions. That is how one senior Gulf official described it. Frantic, last minute. That is not the language of confident allies who trust the person they are trying to talk down from the ledge. And what about Europe, the broader international community? They are not offering logistical support either. When you have alienated your traditional allies across the Atlantic, when you have dismissed international institutions, when you have made every diplomatic relationship transactional and conditional on personal loyalty to one man, this is what you are left with. Even some of Trump's own advisors are reportedly unsure how to explain to the public why military intervention in Iran might be necessary right now. See, and that is an extraordinary thing to read. The people inside the building cannot even construct the argument. Iran, for its part, has warned that all bases, facilities, and assets of any hostile force in the region would constitute legitimate targets if it is attacked, and that the United States would bear full responsibility for any unpredictable consequences. France 24 Iran wrote that in a formal letter to the United Nations Secretary General. That is not rhetoric. That is a documented legal statement. And here is where this all comes together. Trump is standing largely alone. The talks in Geneva between the U.S. and Iran showed some progress, according to Iran's foreign minister. But the White House acknowledged the sides remain very far apart on fundamental issues. Newsweek was the diplomatic path is thin. The military path is being blocked from multiple directions by countries that do not want to be dragged into a conflict with consequences none of them can fully predict. This is the direct result of years of burning bridges, ripping up agreements, reversing positions overnight, and treating alliances like they are bargaining chips. You cannot spend years isolating your friends, dismissing international law when it is inconvenient, and attacking the very institutions that hold global cooperation together, and then turn around and expect those same countries to hand you their air bases when you need them. The world is watching. And right now, the world is saying no. We will keep tracking this. Let us know what you think in the comments, and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss a single update.